I've just had a friend of mine who is a non-Bond fan. GoldenEye was her favourite film. And the thing she said to me was, on the back of Sean Bean, was saying, and I don't know if anybody thought this at the time, I don't know if I did, but we see him at the beginning, you know, we think he dies. She said, I knew he wasn't going to die because he's too big a star. He got to come back. Did anybody else sort of think
No.
that? I don't think I did.
Not at the time, because he was famous as Sharp, wasn't he?
Yes.
But you never know with a Bond film, you know, because it's quite a big deal to be in a Bond film. And like, you know, you had Monica Bellucci, who was only in 2 scenes. So you don't, and I hadn't seen those trailers. I'd only seen and he isn't even in the teaser trailer, I don't think.
No.
So it wasn't a shock to me. It depends when you saw it, doesn't it?
It wasn't a shock to me because obviously Tom, and Rob, when they came back, just told us essentially most of the film, but
ruined it.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it going into it. So, but yeah, at that point, whilst he'd been in stuff and was in Sharp, he wasn't. You know, I can understand your friend watching it now and like, well, it's Sean Bean, he'll come back, but he wasn't quite as big as that.
No.
You know, he wasn't necessarily what you'd think was a big enough name to be a Bond villain, maybe.
No.
At that point, and again, you know, I don't know if you want us to talk about Trevelyan now, Tom.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think he's underrated because I just don't. You know, people. I mean, they get. I think people get the ranking of villains and stuff pretty spot on. You know, like Scaramanga, Zorin, Sanchez, I would say, like, and then the next rung down. Could you say that Trevelyan's in there with, you know, I don't know, Silver, Drax,
Goldfinger, Drax,
Trevelyan.
These are the ones for Silver, maybe.
Yeah, not green, but no, and you know, it's so interesting because you wouldn't want to do this every time, but having another 00 who ends up being a villain, and it's like anti-Bond, you know, again, and we have had that a couple of times, but this is in a different way. And whilst, you know, his mission is about sort of revenge, actually it's about making money.
Yeah.
And
the bank robbery.
You know,
You break into the Bank of England via computer, then transfer the money electronically. Just seconds before you set off the GoldenEye, which erases any record of the transactions. Ingenious.
Thank you, James.
But it still boils down to petty theft. In the end, you're just a bank robber. Nothing more than a common thief.
I like that, and I think it's really good, and I think it's underrated that Sean Bean is a James Bond villain. He's been doing the rounds recently because of this new Robin Hood series, and he's the Sheriff of Nottingham, you know. And like, I'm whenever I've seen anything, I'm like, are they going to ask him about GoldenEye? Are they going to? Is the word Trevelyan going to be mentioned? 006? It's not really been much. From what, you know, given it's the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
So again, Trevelyan massively underrated. Sean Bean being in Bond massively underrated, and we've got our best fights thing out at the moment. What a fight that is! Absolutely,
oh, goodness me!
For me, there's no better fight than that in a Bond film. I think it's absolutely superb.
You know, James, I was always better.
We knew him as well, didn't we? This is hilarious that we knew him because he was a Sheffield United director. So I think Dad had already met him at a Bury match. I think, or maybe it was just. Honestly, it was about the same time. All this was we should said more to him now. Quite a humble guy, you know. It's just knocking. The fact that he doesn't. This is one of the only films you'll find Sean Bean in, or series where he isn't doing a Yorkshire accent. I can't believe it. Because he's a brilliant actor. He's so versatile. If you've seen some of his stuff, like that he does with Jimmy
McGovern,
yeah, there's Time, and so he's absolutely sensational in those. You can tell though from the start, even in the pre-title sequence, the way he sort of shoots that guy pretty ruthlessly. Like Bond, I don't think Bond would have done that.
Yeah.
There's something a bit sinister, but he does go more and more over the top, doesn't he? Which is exactly what you want. And Mum fancied him famously as well.
Yeah, he's a bit of a lady's favourite.
Yeah, he was. He really was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was in Lady Chatterley's Lover.
Ah, right. Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. So that was
not seen that, of course.
You know, when he first gets killed in the film, well, first gets killed, you know, like, you know, I remember, like, I was distraught as a kid. I was like, oh my God, this is like Bond's friend, like his budgie, and like, you know,
For England, James!
they send this lady that, you know, needs to do a psychoanalysis of him, and, you know, all he wants to do is just to shag her, basically, and then you know, he wants to go on this revenge mission, how much he hates Oromov, and then to suddenly see that sort of switch, it sort of feels like a bit like a stab in the back, you know. And I think that's kind of what I like about Alec Trevelyan. He's sort of in the shadows. He's sort of, you know, he's not your obvious villain. You know, Oromov makes sense.
Yeah.
Some Cold War Russian general. You know, Xenia Onatop, you know, well, she's Xenia, so makes sense. But I think Alec Trevelyan, you know, just in a way, it's a nice juxtaposition with the other characters, because I feel like he's maybe a bit more of a real life villain in a way, maybe. Yeah. And then Oromov is sort of that balance, that middle ground, and then you've got Xenia, who's like over the top, and then you've got Boris sort of on that scale as well. So I think, yeah, I don't think he's the ultimate villain. I think the ultimate villain would be someone maybe like Blofeld or Stromberg.
These are the hottest takes I've ever heard.
Or like
Goldfinger for me.
Goldfinger, yeah, right.
Goldfinger's my favourite villain. Yeah, Goldfinger's my favourite villain.
Yeah, good, you know, but I think I think it was it John or was it Matt? I can't remember. But he's up there. He might not be the ultimate tier, but I think for a Bond, you know, villain, what he does to Bond, I think, you know, he breaks his heart. He kind of breaks his soul a bit, and then, you know, and then he has to make that decision at the end. Do I save him? Do I not? Like, you know, shoot, what do I do?
For England, James? No.
Obviously, being Sean Bean, he has to die, so he did die. Yeah. I think it's great.
Dies twice. He does 3 times, doesn't he?
3 times, yeah.
Has he died 3 times?
Yeah.
Dies at the start, but obviously doesn't. Then he falls off to his death, and then the crane falls on him.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, I see the crane and the fall as sort of one.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
He was dead. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Sean, it's the first time they do it all. They do it all the time now. Too much with the Bond films. There's too many personal soap opera connections. This is the first real sort of connection between Bond and a villain or anybody.
Yeah, no, and it's done so well because like there's so many layers to Trevelyan's character. Like in a roundabout way, it's a bit of a mirror image of Bond. You know, like at the start, they're both like the banter, you know, losing time, buy me a pint. You just see that connection. They're mates, you know.
Closing time, James. Last call. Buy me a pint.
And then obviously Brosnan has a brilliant reaction when Trevelyan is shot. You just see him thinking, "Oh, what's going on here? I need to, you know, I'm going to try and, you know, get out of here." Like it's a great, it's a blink and you miss it sort of reaction of Brosnan, but you just feel the loss. Yeah, you feel the loss. So then when we come to the statues, sort of scene, I'm quoting the game now more than the film, but you know, whenever he meets Trevelyan, realizes it's Giannis, but we then see, like you made a quick wee point earlier on, Tom, like I didn't pick it up for years, but like Bond and Trevelyan are on the mission. Trevelyan just shoots cold-blooded that scientist. Like the scientist wasn't even, in my mind, he wasn't even facing. He shoots him, and I never picked up on it to realize like they're planting seeds there. This is a different sort of person here. There's a twist going to happen. Not that you see it obviously earlier on, but later on, even in the train scene, like "Welcome to the party, my dear." He's so, you know, sort of that, but then he just turns like Oromov and Xenia are there, and he's trying to, you know, sort of there, you know, with this Italian, you know, trying to kiss her and everything else. And then, like, one of the best quotes in this whole movie is, "Why could you just be a good boy and die?" That is just so good.
Why can't you just be a good boy and die?
The scene between the two of them, it's just. He just say the mirror image, but the way Sean Bean is playing it, it's really just Bond and him up against it. Bond is up against an adversary that knows every move. You know, it's something you think you have anticipated your every move. Later on with the watch, still press here, do I? And he turns off the limpet mine or the mines, whatever it is, or as said earlier on. He's just it's every step of the way. Brosnan, as in Bond, has to do a bit more just to get over Trevelyan. Like, even you've referenced the fight at the end. That is one of the best fights in all of Bond. And to see seeing it in the big screen even recently, it is so brutal. It is so much like just the sound effects they have. Like, they are probably beating each other up. You know, so that character, and like the payoff at the very end for England, James, no, for me, that just sums the whole sort of journey that Bond has been on with Trevelyan the whole time. I think it's an excellent character. It's there's certain layers to it and the way Sean Bean plays it, but top notch villain for me. Probably, yes, I'm gonna say your Blofeld, so your sort of Goldfingers there, the top notch. Even I'd say Drax and Sanchez to that, but he's up there. And again, Matt, you said at the very start, and this, I think we're going to say this word over and over again, underrated. Like, how underrated, you know, and it's just, we don't talk about it enough. Well, we are tonight, obviously, but we don't talk about it enough. And what a character. Not like, brilliant character.
He's so pathetic when you actually just strip back. Like, it's like his sole mission. He's just got chips on his shoulder, hasn't he? Like, because he's a Lietz Cossack and the nature of that, but his whole thing is, I want to prove a point. I want to prove a point that I'm better than Bond.
Yeah.
I want to prove a point that I want to get revenge on England because of what happened years ago, so I'm going to take their money. It's like, how do I say this? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's how Blofeld, what they tried to do with Christoph Waltz Blofeld, how it should have been done. So, like, the idea that Christoph Waltz Blofeld is, I'm the author of your pain because Daddy loved you more, and it like hams it up. No. You don't do that. You just put subtle references in, like this does about, you know, I wouldn't know. Lovely girl, taste of strawberries. I don't know. I would. I was always better, James. You just keep planting those little nuggets now and again of competitive, just to show, actually, when you strip it back, you're just a bank robber. You know, he's just like, he's actually incredibly pathetic, but you don't ever think that until you stop and think about it, because what you actually see on screen is a formidable force. But as a character, he's very pathetic. And that kind of, that balance again, that layer, is only something you do when you sit and look at it. And that's the sign of great writing, sign of a great character, sign of brilliantly acted. Sean Bean is so charming in this film, I think, at times. Like, and then he can flip again. He's unbelievable. But he's how a personal motivation against Bond should be played in a Bond film.
Because nowadays you get loads of lines from Bond himself about how he's feeling, but here, when he re-emerges in the shadows, that really odd, unbelievable music, you know, the whispering statues scene. The script is so good because Sean Bean is basically telling you about Bond's character. It's not Bond talking about himself. There's put the gun away, James. It's insulting that I don't know your every move. And then there's about your funeral with only Moneypenny and a few tears. Your parents had the luxury of dying a climax. We got that in there.
James Bond, Her Majesty's loyal terrier, defender of the so-called faith. Oh, please, James, put it away. It's insulting to think I haven't anticipated your every move.
I don't want a Bond where he's crying about his parents. I like in Skyfall, it's good that M talks about them. You know, that's how it should be done, rather than him spilling his guts, because he's meant to be the stiff upper lip, isn't he, as an agent and all that. And yeah, I think it's so well done. I think, as we keep saying, the film isn't underrated. It's a very highly thought of film, but each element is underrated. Like, the ingredient. The people seem to think the sum is better than its parts, but no, not at all. I think is the sort of conclusion we're coming to.
I only thought Roger Moore was the only one who played James Bond. I couldn't sort of fathom or even think that anybody else was playing James Bond other than him. Do you remember the poster GoldenEye in 95 and certainly in 1996 at the cinema or in Woolworths when it was out on video to rent or buy. But again, I didn't sort of see that poster and think, oh, that's a James Bond movie, even though it said 007 on it and so on. My brothers had a TV and a video player upstairs, and there was a copy of GoldenEye on there, and I thought, ooh, I'm going to go and put this film on that I see the posters of everywhere. And so I pop it in, and the first thing that you get is the montage trailer of all the Bond movies being released on video. And I mean, that was amazing in itself, because I didn't know that there were so many Bond movies, and that was the first time I found out that there were so many other actors playing James Bond. It was the looking for a little peace and quiet, didn't think so. And that shocked me, and it was unbelievable to watch. But then following all that afterwards, and then found out that, oh, this film, this GoldenEye, this is a Bond movie, especially when that gun barrel came in and so on. And I only watched the opening. I had to go and do something else. But I think that sort of blew my mind that, oh, after all this time, this GoldenEye film was a Bond film. And there are so many other Bond movies that came out before Roger Moore and other actors playing him as well. So that was kind of a nice sort of educational experience. We all really enjoyed it. It was a very cool looking movie, and the bit that stuck out for me as a child was when Boris was frozen by all the liquid nitrogen, and that was the funniest part of the movie, and that kind of stuck with me. But I think from 97 onwards, especially the game GoldenEye 64, which I won't talk too much about, but I think that game certainly elevated GoldenEye the movie up to another level. A whole load of other people who had probably never even seen GoldenEye or a Bond movie, and they play the game, and there's this sort of reaction of like, well, if this is based on a movie, I better go and see the movie. And then that's a sort of first introduction of James Bond, which is through the GoldenEye game, then watching the movie first. Certainly when the movie was broadcast on ITV in March 1999, everybody by that point who had played the game or seen the movie a couple of times, we all sort of knew we've all got to go and watch that movie as it's broadcast on ITV, and everyone at my school did, and we all talked about it the next day, like, wasn't that movie great? I think, a huge contribution of that is certainly the fact that this is Barbara and Michael's first movie when they're taking over the series now, and they're going into another direction, articulating and creating these movies. And certainly when you have a look at what Martin Campbell brought to it, there's a lot of filmmaking elements in GoldenEye that really does keep you on the edge of your seat, that are very clever, very creative, and very sort of really trying to bring in that MT generation teenage audience in there, because this very much feels like that 90s post-MTV generation of action movies. Not only after the opening scene with Bond as a spy, you don't go into, well, what the villain's up to now, what's the dastardly thing, or Bond walking into the office and getting his mission briefing. Sort of the fairly traditional thing that Bond movies were doing before. No, what this movie does is, after the whole bungee in the airplane and the facility place blowing up, they don't do that. What they do is they have Bond riding his Aston Martin DB5, casually playing against Xenia on the top, and then after that he goes into the casino in Monte Carlo in his tuxedo, driving up to the casino, and he plays some baccarat. And it's this very nice sort of like, yeah, we're really showing you guys that Bond is really, really back. He really is here for you to stay, and we're going to really deliver that. And I thought that was a nice sort of creative touch, that rather than doing some things traditionally, they sort of really sell you that in this first 20 minutes, Pierce Brosnan is James Bond for you, and we're going to have him in that tuxedo and playing cards in the Aston Martin and so on. And I think that was a nice sort of way of reassuring people, he is your man for the next few films. I think it's those little things, those little moments in the movie that stay with you as an audience and as a fan. Just like with any other movie as well, it's those moments that stand the test of time. It's not all the big action set pieces. I mean, they're really good, but it's those very sort of like creative choices that make you appreciate the movie a hell of a lot more and make you want to come back to it just that little bit more over all the other movies. And the examples I can give you are like revealing 006 coming out of the shadows in the chemical facility, and then later on revealing Janice as 006 coming out of the shadows in that cemetery area, or the squeaky trolley as Bond is going towards the conveyor belt, or the password voice system to get into the bunker. It's the only way in and it's the only way out, and sadly it explodes in the EMP explosion. Or when Bond and Q are talking about the gadgets, there are things happening in the background where all these gadgets are malfunctioning and people are flying everywhere. Really cool. Or when Bond thinks he's got Zukovsky, lucky me, I think not. It's a sort of very sort of witty, it's very, very witty, it's very unexpected. Or like when Natalia screams after Bond has been knocked out and it's the first thing you hear, "Wake up, mister!" And, you know, you're just very shocked as an audience member there.
Wake up! Mister! Ah! Wake up, please! Wake up!
I'm here. I'm here!
Or it's when Natalia is lying on the floor in the elevator in the GoldenEye satellite, and she's lying on the elevator and the soldier's looking and it's like, what's this? And you as the audience like, huh? Why she's been knocked out? And where's Bond as well? And he comes flying down below from the ceiling. Or it's when 006 has just fallen from the satellite, bashes onto the ground, and as soon as that happens, Boris screams into the computer. It's moments like that, and as well as when, with the Admiral, Bond doesn't find the Admiral on the bed dead. No, Bond finds Admiral. It's an empty room. He opens the wardrobe, and the dead Admiral, comes out, and he died happily. It's those kind of like, those very sort of unexpected moments that I would say keep me on the edge of my seat, because you don't see it coming or anything like that. And when it comes, it's very satisfying, and you appreciate the fact that, that sort of extra creative input was put into this movie. And that's why I would say, that's what makes me want to come back to this movie again and again. What seems to be like a reoccurring story when I talk to other fans about GoldenEye is when they saw the film, they were all told to leave the room when it was the Admiral and Xenia having it off and play with each other on the boat. They were told, go out in the other room now, please. And I'm kind of like, I don't think it was that bad, because, I mean, you know, she's got some clothes on at least, sort of thing. I know it's very, very feisty and very ferocious, but I don't think it was that bad. What can you say about Brosnan that hasn't already been spoken about? He's absolutely perfect in the role. And to a lot of people, he's everybody's favourite James Bond. Well, after Sean Connery anyway, I think it's the best introduction of James Bond that there is, and well done him. I think with all that experience that he accumulated between Remington Steele and before GoldenEye, I think he was able to articulate that very well in all the other Bond films afterwards, and he was very used to it. He's very comfortable in the role. There isn't a moment whereby he doesn't look like that he's not in control or he's not in character, sort of thing. And that's a testament to his portrayal as Bond. I think all the cast in GoldenEye is perfect. Sean Bean, I would say, he stands out from all the other ones. You know, he doesn't play the role like a maniacal villain or anything like that. He really does play it like he's quite peed off that someone of his experience and caliber was able to be outsmarted by James Bond. You know, he did not know that James was going to set the timer to 3 instead of 6. And he is annoyed at Bond for doing that kind of thing. And both of them, they seem like, both him and Bond look like as if, they could very much be equal. Sean Bean could be James Bond in himself. Out of all the Bond movies, this is the most atmospheric one of them all. And not only is Martin Campbell able to articulate the coldness of Russia with the mountains or Siberia or Moscow, as well as the exotic landscapes of Monte Carlo and the Caribbean, what it sort of like definitely speaks out to me more when it comes to the movie's atmosphere is Eric Serra's music, whether it's the pounding Russian army beats that he has in there, or the nice romantic pieces of music that he's able to sort of blend in with what's happening on the screen. For me, that's certainly what makes the movie stand out from all the other movies that have come out before, and possibly even since. Yeah, to a certain large degree. Yeah. And I think the standout moments for me, I think, in the piece of music is when, after Bond passes out with Natalia after the plane crash, not only do you see the propellers of the helicopter amidst the sunlight, and Bond's thinking, is that a rescue helicopter there or something? You've got Eric Serra's sort of very twangy pieces of spooky music that's sort of coming in there, a sort of like a mystery in there, and I don't know why, but it absolutely worked. Thank you to everybody at Really 007. And before I go, I just need to say a huge thank you to Warren Rigman and the performer, the singer, Matt Walker, Cue the Music, for getting the permission to do The Experience of Love, because whether you love that song or hate it, I think it doesn't work at all for the ending or not. I think it was just a nice tribute for the film GoldenEye, and it was a nice piece of fan service in a way for all the fans of GoldenEye, and it was just a very nice touch to be able to see that in October this year. So thanks very much, and take care, everybody.
Morning, Q. Sorry about the leg. Skiing?
Hunting.
We better just touch on Q and M, because one of the very best Q scenes, in my opinion.
I agree.
It's so good, such good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the way it's played. Once again, it's lighthearted, but even all the sort of the action that's happening behind Q and Bond, like it brings you back to like a Roger Moore type, Q scene where things are happening in the background, like the chair flying off the boy in the phone box, even just Q just like using the pen on the sort of the dummy, and
Sorry about this, Fred. 1, 2, 3. Don't say it.
The writing's on the wall?
Along with the rest of it.
Even like the very end of it, don't touch that, that's my lunch. Like it's so well done. And
Don't touch that. It's my lunch.
Again, I'll go back to the fun element. They're enjoying it. Brosnan's obviously enjoying playing the scene with Desmond Llewellyn. They're both playing off each other. It's so good. Like even just Q's introduction. Sorry about the leg, Q, skiing, hunting. It's just bang, explosion, and away we go. It's just so good. And I would say it's, again, I'm biased, but I think it's the best Q scene in all of the scenes, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's one of the best.
Yeah.
It is.
I think, again, the blueprints of this film are brilliant, and the things that they change or that they look to put a new angle on. So M is something that's a bit different. But with Q, they've said, no, let's not mess with that. Let's make an almost celebration of a Q scene.
Yeah.
And that really helps you, because they've got great chemistry. Desmond Llewellyn has brilliant chemistry with all the actors. That gives you that familiarity. Yes, this is James Bond because this is him and Q, and we know what that's about. But there's new gags and new, it's brilliant. And again, I'm not saying that they would do this exact thing, but if you're looking at Bond 26, think about some of the elements that you would keep the same, that are established and stay the same, and then add the few things that. This is a brilliant blueprint of a Bond film, of how to reboot a Bond film, but also keep it the same. And the best example of it, in my opinion, it has such a good balance between bringing Bond into the 90s and into a new age, whilst being a really celebratory traditional Bond film. And this Q scene is a perfect example of that.
What I like about Pierce's Bond, maybe in comparison to some of the other Bonds, is that he likes to tease Desmond. I feel like, he just likes to mess about with him a little bit. And not that, I don't think the other Bonds necessarily didn't do that. Maybe Sean was the other person that did that really well. I think they had that sort of teasing each other, that messing around, which I really like. And I think the scene itself is sort of like a combo of some of Q's greatest hits, like a combo of sort of some of Roger's bits, some of Sean Connery's bits. Yeah, that parallel with the introduction of the car, kind of like Goldfinger in a way. But yeah, I think it's just great. And then with the way M's introduced, I feel like historically maybe M's tended to be a bit softer, but I feel Judi Dench played M really sort of like a hard-hitting kind of woman. She doesn't take any punches, which I kind of liked.
Yeah,
I agree. And I love the way you just introduced and Bond did not go back into her office and he just messaged your predecessor, kept some cognac in the door.
Yeah.
Like, they're making
Oh,
that connection. She's a new character. It's still familiar, but it's a new sort of iteration of the character, and it's the first female sort of M.
Would you care for a drink?
Thank you. Your predecessor kept some cognac in the top.
I prefer bourbon. Ice?
Yes.
John keeps saying it. I'm right. I'm agreeing with you. It's the writing. The writing is so good in this film.
Ronnie's on the wall.
Oh, there you go. Boom, boom. It's just so good, and it just flows. The film just flows so well. But what an introduction to another character, like a character then that sort of stays with the franchise for the next 25 years. So good, is able to change the character later variations for another Bond, but just Judi Dench is just perfect for the role. One of the best castings ever in the Bond sort of franchise. So it's just so perfect for the role. So good.
I prefer Judi Dench with Brosnan as opposed to Daniel Craig. But I feel she plays it differently with Craig. It's different.
Yeah.
And I just prefer the banter and the way it's done, as opposed to I don't want to beat up Daniel Craig, because the guy's done some great stuff. But for me, I just think she's better with Pierce. And regarding Q, just to go back to Q, I feel like the Q scene is like a pair of comfy slippers that I really wanted to sort of. I needed to have that scene, and you look forward to the Q scene,
Yeah, that's one scene with Q that's done everything you want, and M, it's really two scenes, isn't it? She's not even in it after. I mean, that we've mentioned so many incredibly memorable scenes. But the one with M, it's as good a writing as it gets. Judi Dench is, I mean, like I said, Pierce was absolutely there's no worry about him being Bond. Everyone was fully for it. But it was quite a big thing to have a woman as M. Judi Dench wasn't as well known then, as she went on to be. So that was a bit of a gamble. And I mean, again, I've never heard anyone say anything other than this. She's unbelievably good and straight away. And I do agree with Vicky, actually. I think because of the Daniel Craig being younger and he's a new upstart, she's a bit more cruel with him, isn't she? To start with, at least. It does get more warm towards the end, of course. But here, she really rollicks him and he has to be making sure she's in charge. I'm sorry.
You don't like me, Bond. You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant. A bean counter, more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good. Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. A relic of the Cold War. Whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you.
Point taken.
Not quite, 007. If you think for one moment I don't have the balls to send a man out to die, your instincts are dead wrong. I've no compunction about sending you to your death. But I won't do it on a whim, even with your cavalier attitude towards life.
But there's that sort of respect that's there as well. Bond come back alive. It's like, good. It's almost emotional, this scene now.
Yeah. Bond, come back alive.
Do you think it was right for them to keep her on with Craig, or do you feel that maybe they should have changed him?
I think it makes zero sense, but it is quite comforting to have her in the film. I think it helps you see it as part of the same universe. I think. Yeah,
I agree with that. I mean, I don't think they would do that now. I don't think
because it was Judy, wasn't it? I think.
No, yeah, but I do think it did help for it to feel like it was a fully fledged Bond film and everything, because they did strip away a lot of the other elements. So, to have Judi Dench as M, I can understand people now, saying, not sure about that. And I agree, I prefer Pierce with her, but still she has some great great scenes and stuff with Daniel Craig's Bond, and she's brilliant in those films. But this is so good because, again, like you say, it's 2 scenes and it's not her popping up throughout the film and it all being about her. And I think they do a brilliant job of this sort of sexist referencing of her being, I hear the new Emma's a lady, and and almost the way Bond's treating her. But so they're trying to get respect for each other, and I think it does a great job. And it also means that, like, when they're casting M for the new film, I would, if it's a woman now, you don't have to reference the fact that it's a woman. Like, it can, that can be whatever now. Yeah, First Light, it's a woman, and that just doesn't feel unusual to me or anything. And they did such a good job. Judi Dench, she's such a short woman. She's tiny, but she's pretty formidable. And you wouldn't mess with her. And it's a cracking introduction and brilliant dialogue, a brilliant scene. And yeah, like you say, that Bond come back alive. That means something. And it hits you. So superb.
And another example of the other characters telling you about Bond's character. I believe you're a sexist misogynist.
Yeah.
Which helps you get from the previous Bond films. It sort of respects the old Bond films, but modernizes it in a way that we don't really go in for that sort of thing anymore. It was too much for me, but that's another debate.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's so well done because you obviously start with Caroline, who Bond seduces, like does the exact,
driving.
But then you've not just got the introduction of M, you've got the introduction of Samantha Bond's Moneypenny, who does that on a similar scale, really. So she goes in, all of a sudden Moneypenny's not pining for Bond in the way that others are. She's on a date. She says this could be sexual harassment. She's referencing that kind of sexual misogynistic approach again, but then it finishes, you've got to make good on your endos, so you still have the flirtatious nature, but you also are alluding to Bond's misogyny.
This sort of behavior could qualify as sexual harassment.
Really? What's the penalty for that?
Someday you have to make good on your innuendos.
And it's very similar with M. She's alluding to what's wrong with him, but it finishes on a note that is still comforting, that you still think this is still our Bond. So it's like, it's not throwing the baby out of the bathwater, is it? It's kind of like saying, yeah, this isn't right, but this is who he is.
Yeah.
And we back him. And I think that that's why it's so nice, because that's how it should be done, as opposed to trying to get rid of these elements altogether or be ashamed of them. Acknowledge them for what they are, but back him anyway. And both Moneypenny and M do this so well in what's probably 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
They respect Bond despite his flaws.
Exactly.
And the audience loves Bond despite his flaws.
Yeah.
What a film.
So good.
I think that contrasts well, to be fair, with I know we're hating a bit on Daniel Craig, but I remember when 2006, when the Daniel Craig film Casino Royale came out. I remember I went with my dad and my uncle, and we left absolutely flabbergasted because we were that upset. And it took me until after Skyfall to actually kind of like Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And I think it's those sort of elements that, like, for instance, Tom, that you mentioned, we don't go for that sort of thing anymore. It's sort of like as if you're sort of just hating on what's happened in the past. Like they completely stripped everything to do with Bond, whereas I think they could have maybe made a more realistic Bond, but had, I don't know, still paid respect to that past that you guys have mentioned about. And I think with GoldenEye, they do respect every other Bond. And then, but this is a new Bond, this is a new M, this is a new Moneypenny, and things like that. And I just think that's a bit of a shame that Craig's era kind of just puts up a middle finger towards some of that.
Well, it did do. Casino Royale was a Bond for that time, and it's it's got It's got so much love and acclaim, and which is great and everything. For me, though, as I said before, I think this is the better, for me, reboot, because it stays true to what Bond is more than Casino Royale does, and does a bit more of celebrating what Bond is rather than dialing back and saying, and well, actually, we're getting rid of it. We're not having a money penny. We're not having a Q. We're not having a gun barrel at the start. Or just and some of that makes sense logically for the film and everything. But that's why I just think this film, because it reboots and makes it relevant for for a new era, while still being a brilliant traditional Bond film with loads of the fun and the celebration, is why it should be followed more as a template for, I don't mean exactly, but in this same kind of spirit for Bond 26.
Yeah.
It is an interesting comparison between the two Martin Campbell films, because Casino Royale in many ways was necessary, but it was necessary as a one-off.
Yeah.
The thing that happened, of course, after that was because it was even more successful than people thought it would be. They tried to replicate it when you wouldn't. If License to Kill, there was another film in '91, you wouldn't do another revenge thriller, would you? You'd do a completely different type of Bond film for Timothy Dalton. And I think GoldenEye does such hard work; it makes it look effortless. It then made the next three. Oh well, we can just do them in our sleep really now. I mean, maybe they were fast asleep for the in the chamber or whatever it is. But
yeah, Dream Machine. Yeah.
Gosh. Also, I forgot to mention Vicky and Sean. Of course, we met Samantha Bond, didn't we?
We did. Yes.
In London.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I was quite shocked because I went into the ladies' toilet and she was in there, so I had a bit of a chat with her.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, it was very brief. But I wasn't expecting that. He sort of threw me slightly.
What was said?
I just basically thanked her for attending, and it's made this a fantastic, not that it wasn't, but an even more fantastic event than what it was. And because when I went up for my photograph, I really didn't say anything other than hello and goodbye, basically, because it was so quick, wasn't it? But so that was a complete unexpected bonus for me. Just there you go. And she's my apart from after Lois Maxwell, she's my favourite Moneypenny. Such a cheeky Moneypenny with a glint in her eye.
Oh, a lovely voice as well, isn't she? A lovely voice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you say anything to her, Sean?
I didn't actually get to meet her. I wasn't at the pre-show, so I didn't get to meet her. No, I regret it now. The time is not meeting other people. The crack's too good and all that, but I do regret it now. But,
it was good crack, to be fair. That
it's so good. Yeah, very lucky. You're very lucky. Very lucky.
That's all for part 4 of our GoldenEye 30th anniversary celebration. But keep watching, because there's more in part 5.